Of you guys join us right at the same moment. We are so glad that you're Alicia. Hi, we see you. Oh, where'd you
Hey,
go?
there she
There you
is.
There
are.
she is.
Hi, Alicia.
Here I am. Hi. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Hi,
Um,
Alyssa.
Everybody kind of popped in at the same time, or we had a lot that came in at the same time, which is wonderful. But I was explaining as everybody was jumping in, I got an email about a half an hour ago, and it was from a lady that will not be able to join us, but she had some very good generic questions that she thinks is personal, and they are personal, but I believe that many of them pertain to all of us. And I believe that we could all provide some input. These meetings are recorded and they are populating a YouTube channel, Alicia, in case you didn't know that. You could go back and you can review them. Because I think you had said something about how you wanted to start or you had missed some of the other ones. So you don't have to feel like you've missed them. You will, of course, miss this interaction, which is always so enjoyable. But you could always go back to the YouTube channel and see the previous recordings. So,
Great.
Susan, I have a question about that.
sure.
Because in the very beginning, you said that only the individuals that are in the group would be able to view them. However, this morning there was a pop-up for me that said that the people in the group could view them, but those individuals could share them with anybody.
Oh,
Okay.
I had that too.
Okay. Do we have a problem with that? I mean, we're not talking about anything personal. This is DAR. We need to get the word out, number one, about how important DAR is, the amount of work that we go to or through, and also to encourage other members of the DAR to consider the proper way to do DAR applications. So if you're going to be concerned about sharing anything, don't, you know,
My only concern is, as you are aware, we have several docs, and sometimes information is created that is not necessarily accurate. And we may be giving our best answers or our best judgment, and we may find out later we are incorrect. That's my only concern. As
and
far
that
as not
means,
not with the group ourselves, because I think we all would understand that we're trying to do the very best we can. But the idea of anyone in the group, just sharing it with whomever does it concerns me, but maybe it's just me.
Barbara, I did share with my potential reviewer on applications because she's learning, but she's
Mhm.
a DAR member.
Mhm.
I told her about these and said you can learn a lot, from these ladies to
Yeah,
help
well,
as a reviewer on applications.
Susan's had just mentioned that there were some sensitive issues, and that was what made me think about it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But she's the only one that I have shared, and I don't know if she's watched any of them. I don't.
I think that we could get to a point in any aspect of genealogy, and I have dealt with people for 25 years on privacy issues similar to this. I think Barbara's taking it to another level, saying, DAR standards, not necessarily privacy issues. And you get to the point, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, that you stymie things so tightly, you'll never get any genealogy work done. I mean, I've had to go to battle almost in my genealogy society in Washington to release certain information that was not going to get anybody in identity theft issues. You know, like we were indexing newspapers. And because these newspapers were less than 25 years old or less than 50 years old, I had people in the genealogy society saying that we shouldn't release them. I'm like, they're already in the public venue, you know? And so that's what I'm saying. You can get to the point where it gets so restrictive. And I don't believe that we are sharing anything here that is new. They can get the same information on other venues in different ways. So that's why I'm saying, Barbara, that
Yeah.
they can go out on all kinds of other ways to hear what we're saying. This is our little place. This is our safe spot.
Yeah.
And
Newspapers, access to newspapers.com is free this weekend.
Oh, really?
know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh,
need
yes.
Yeah.
Make a note of it.
It's funny.
to. Doing just that.
Because,
About a half
you
an
know,
hour, about a half an hour before I started the Zoom meeting, I decided, I haven't gone and looked at this aspect of my family to get to the DAR Patriot. I'm going to do just a quick search. That was a mistake because that's when you get all the good stuff. Yeah. So, okay. What I was saying is that this lady sent us a really good email, and I thought without divulging who it is, we could go ahead and discuss it, which she's asked. Or was it maybe she said, I can't attend either either of this week's sessions because of prior obligations. Hopefully you can discuss this and get some ideas. So she's kind of asked for us to. So one of the questions that she has is that she says she's unable to manipulate the digital application or that little worksheet that I love so much. Is anybody else having problems entering information into the Build an App or the DAR application?
No. Susan, I think there were. I think there were in the early parts of January, at least on the new application form, because there were so many comments. And people were on the dock were talking about workarounds.
Especially some of those fonts that were too small and stuff.
Yes, and some, like our state registrar, the first time she did one for member at large, there were zeros that appeared. She had to, and I've had that even before
But that means that they were able to enter information into the application. They were just having some issues with the information they added, correct?
that's what I understand.
So my first thought is that this lady may not have Adobe Acrobat.
Yes.
So is everybody else able to, Devorah, are you able to?
Yeah, I am. I have Acrobat Pro, so I can edit and do whatever I want to do with it.
Now I've noticed on those two documents, the application and the worksheet, I can't really, I've got Acrobat Pro also, and I can't really edit those. Those are pretty locked down, but that's okay. I mean, I tried the old worksheet had a couple of glitches in it I didn't like, and so I tried to manipulate it and I wasn't able to. So what I'm saying though is I can still put data into it and I like it. So
Yeah.
I will tell her the only thing I could think of is that she might be running a different version of PDF software. Yeah.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
updates too that make things funky.
Or
You
she's
mean
just
Adobe
using the
has,
reader.
Alicia?
Yeah, Adobe will, I've had that issue in the past where Adobe will push an update that makes an error and then they'll push another update
Yes.
a little after.
That's
Did
good
she
to know.
specify if she was using the reader, Acrobat Reader, or because
She
that
just
could be the whole problem in and of itself?
I do know that there have been some ladies members that I've interacted with, and they're getting like new computers that come with a different PDF software than Adobe, and that's giving them a lot of fits.
Yeah.
So
Let me ask a question, Susan, on the application rather than the checklist. The one thing that, because I've just done 2 SUPs and an application in the past week or so, what I'm noticing is on the citation page, if it's already populated with a building app and you click on, say, generation 3, it disappears. And
that's
so then,
interesting.
yeah, well, I have to play with it and it will reappear. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes and so if you try a copy and a paste, then say it's you've got the same citation for 3 generations. So when it's disappeared, I've tried to copy and paste it back in from say generation 4 into generation 3. Then generation 4 disappears. Then all of a sudden 3 will appear. So I've ended up having to do some typing. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. Because I sure would like to know what the trick is, because I don't like to type in those citations.
Barb, are you running Windows or on a Mac?
Windows. And I have Adobe. I don't have Adobe Pro, but I've not had that particular thing happen.
I run a Mac, so I'm no help with Windows anymore.
Wow, Barbara, we might have a challenge when we Zoom together.
We might have a what?
No, Barbara Lewis and I
Yeah.
Oh,
get
sorry.
together. And if she's running Mac, I'm like, uh-oh.
I love my Mac. I
We'll do fine.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a question.
Well, let me go through these. There's only a couple more, Barbara.
Okay.
I let my Ancestry.com subscription lapse last year because I wasn't really using it and I felt it was a waste of money. I can't afford to resubscribe, but I just got disgusted with the constant emails and requests to upgrade. Is there another source for documentation? I believe those are 2 points.
I have a good answer
Good. What is it?
because I just did it. The county library allows you to go in. You'll find it online that it says you can use it from home, but that's not true. That's false information. But you can go into the library and log into ancestry.com and you can get fold 3 there also.
Get what?
Fold 3.
Oh,
Fold 3. And
okay.
I sat there for hours the Friday, and they let you just stay as long as you want. Our particular library is rather new, and it has a real nice computer area and everything. So, does that help
That's
any?
an idea. Mhm.
If you've let your subscription expire, can you still log in and get what you had, like the trees and stuff you had previously?
Yes.
From what
Okay,
I understand, Elizabeth, you can access your trees, but the documents may not be viewable.
okay.
Well, actually, you can view them. You can't download them though.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, because I've done extensive work in my family tree, and I used to download when I had a subscription. I downloaded them and saved them on my computer. And I went in since my subscription expired. I went in the different times and I could view them. I had no problem viewing them. Now there's some documents that I didn't save to my tree though. And when I was a subscriber, I was able to view it. And that might be what you're talking about,
Well, I
Susan.
just generically, if people were thinking about ditching Ancestry to use the library's version, wanted to know that. I'm not planning on getting rid of it. In Beaufort County, you cannot get full 3. They decided not to get it because of budget reasons. They
Okay,
still have Ancestry, but they have never had full 3 in my county.
interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, so one of the points that I read in this question is that
Oh,
she can,
Susan.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. No,
No, you
I was gonna say too that, I mean, to me, Family Search has brought up a lot of stuff that Ancestry doesn't
Mhm.
either, and it's so free. And that way you can do it anywhere. You're not cabled to a library, but it just gets hard. It's not all indexed, so I mean, it can take a little bit of searching, but there's a lot of stuff on Family Search.
Barbara Jurors, I think that that's a good segue.
Mhm.
Do you want to make your announcement or not?
I'm just going to mention that if you have not played with Family Search Full Text Labs, it's easy. It's actually easier than going into Family Search and doing your normal thing. The Lineage Research Committee is going to initiate our Zoom meeting, and we're going to do a short little workshop on Family Search. On Family Search Full Text Labs. There are a number of things that you can do in that. They have a video on the Family Search website. And what that does is it's like a crawler on steroids. It's not like having to, you do not have to do prompts like you do with a normal AI. Like if you were going to do ChatGPT or, where you have to learn how to do the prompts. This is just a mechanism that goes through thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of records. And all you're doing is like being on Ancestry, filtering. And they have a video on family. Also, you can do some searching on the web because this is one of the hottest topics. It was announced about a year ago this time, but it's just really catching on now. And I tell you, I know Susan, you've used it, and a lot of people that are using it are absolutely amazed. Personally, I have broken through a lot of brick walls.
And I just
A lot.
I just got to share, I did share this morning that about a half an hour before the meeting, I'd like, oh, I just had some like playtime, and there's a branch I haven't explored getting to Patriots. It's the grandchildren of my known patriot. And I went out on Family Search AI, Barbara. Now, first I looked at the records that had generated where I needed to go.
Yes.
And there was an analysis written, and this was written probably 20 years ago. And I looked at that going, okay, how do I get my person involved in this analysis? They're mentioned, but it's not tied in. I went to Family Search, full search or full text search, and the analysis said that there was no document that listed the heirs of this person. And the first thing I found was a land document that listed all of the heirs of the person.
Yeah, the neat thing about this is that they're down. Okay, originally when they started it, it was an experiment. It's still an experiment, and it was deeds and probate. But every day now they are adding and adding and adding and adding, and you might end up with 250 items, but it gives you snippets that are not just little tiny snippets. They're enough that you can see what names are in it, like what Susan's talking about. It's just absolutely fabulous. And
can you download these documents?
yes,
The results
yes.
from the
Oh,
search,
and
you can download it?
they're also there's a transcription done by OCR. It's not perfect,
No.
but if it's funny, everybody is a little bit different. Some people do not like to read old handwriting. I'm kind of funny. The transcription bothers me because of the mistakes that are in there because of what they're reading. And so I read the old handwriting. But
And you have to.
other
What a-
individuals do not like to read the handwriting. They haven't had the practice with it. So they read the transcript, and you can, when you download the document, the transcripts come with it. And so then you can go in and adjust the transcripts to
Oh, that's
Barbara,
good.
this is the first time I ever had this happen, but I was looking for a person by the name of Edward Wester. And I did the full text search and came up with a hit, right place, right time. I went and looked at it and I got all excited. I looked at the transcript. His name was Edward Wester. I look at the handwriting, it was Edward Brown. I have never had that happen, and I've used it a lot. But I'm just saying that as a warning. Don't rely only on the transcript. You know what I mean?
exactly. Oh, exactly. Because some of the words,
The
the
handwriting.
transcript is so what sometime what you can do with the transcript is you can read it quickly to find the names you're looking for or the places or the combination, like maybe you're looking for a wife's name with a particular ancestor or vice versa, or a child's. You can read the transcript on the right-hand side very quickly, but then go into the document and see, and they have highlights. You can that's another trick. When you download it, if you download it with the highlights and then you're going to use that document for DIR, they're not going to like that. But you can leave the highlights in while you're looking into the document, and then take the highlights off and then download it so that you have a nice, pretty document. And the source is at the bottom of the transcription.
Maureen, you look a little concerned about that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love the idea of the sources at the bottom. That's great.
But
But
the highlighting is what you looked a little concerned about.
Oh, that's good.
But,
Okay.
oh gosh, Susan, maybe help me. There was something on the doc this week about being sure that you source when you're taking from AI. They don't source it the way we are need to do. So I will go back into Family Search the normal way and find the film and double check and make a notation either in my computer or if I've printed it for that future case, I just write it on the document.
I got to stand on a platform on this one, Barbara, stand up at my soapbox, because what the DAR is wanting us to do is if we find something in this full text search, it gives us what the Family Search calls a DGS, which is like a digital
Right.
group set. Before there were digital group sets, there were FHL film numbers, family history
Right.
library roll numbers, right? And I do not understand, I guess I could go back and read, but how they came up with these DGSs, because a lot of times you'll have various FHLs and DGSs. And what the DAR wants is the Family History Library film number, the roll number.
Roll, yes. Be sure you
And
put
so
that
just like
roll.
Barbara, I was reviewing a supplemental, a pretty involved supplemental this last week, and the citations were they were very, very bad. They were very bad. And this person's got a lot of supplementals, Lorene, but she was writing the citations old school, not the way that the DAR wants them now, meaning she was making paragraphs out of her citations and explaining each of the citations on the citation page, and that will get kicked out. So I was going back and rewriting her citations for her, and it was kind of frustrating because I like that DAR wants to go back to as close to the original as possible. That is important to me because if we don't go back to that original in the future, nobody's going to be able to find these things because technology continues to change. For example, the Family History Library roll number is now a DGS and they're not the same. And so I would have to go into the full search because she only gave snippets of she didn't download the whole page. And so she would just take a screenshot of this is what I want. And I'm like, oh, that's not going to work. You got to give the document to the genies. And so I would have to go into the family search full search text, that full text search, find that same page, and then figure out which film number it was, go read that, and then find out what book it was that the film was originally taken from. It was a little cross-eyeing, but it's important because now that citation will mean something 40 years from now. Sorry, it's my little soapbox.
Well, so if you're using this, just be sure to go back into the guidelines. And it's funny because I was working with my vice chair and I knew I had seen that the guidelines had a February 2025 update. But when I went back through and put a keyword search into the actual part 2, I couldn't find February anywhere. And I thought,
Oh.
okay, your eyes were bad that day. But at the front of part 2, they have February 2025. And
Wasn't it January?
they're updating, very quickly. So what I'm practicing now is every time I'm either reviewing or every time I'm doing an application, I'm going back to that, whatever it is that I'm questioning myself on and double checking the guidelines.
Mm. Okay, let's get back to this question so we can talk about some other things. But thank you, Barbara. I am very excited about your Zoom call coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. So, the other thing I wanted to say in regards to this particular question, Alicia, I thank you very much for bringing up Family Search. That is a king pin. There's 3 big ones right now, and that's Family Search, Ancestry, and MyHeritage. And Family Tree Magazine just put out a comparison on those 3 websites to explain which ones. I don't know if that's backwards to you guys or if you
No,
can see.
it's good.
Okay, so the genealogy websites that they compared, and more market share is going to MyHeritage, but Ancestry and Family Search are still the big players. However, those are genealogy websites. A lot of counties, a lot of libraries are starting to share records. A lot of genealogy societies, historical societies, and I will tell you, being as involved with the Genealogical Society as I was before moving here to South Carolina, They have to. You know, they exist by dues that people pay. And if those people don't feel like they're getting anything out of their membership, they're not going to join. So if they don't have any electronic resource, information to share for genealogists, then they aren't of value to people that sit at home and research, which most of us do. So a lot of those genealogical societies will have stuff on the front side for the whole public to be able to use to research their area, but they might also have a subscription site in the back door, meaning you can get through that, and then there's a lot. Now, a lot of times it's not that expensive. I think I was doing a pretty complicated application for somebody whose family lived in Buncombe County, North Carolina for many generations. They've got exactly that sort of setup, and I joined just so I could get into their records. If it's your family, you might find that that is a great resource because they have to, in order to survive, they have to keep feeding information into it. They may not do it at the rate that Ancestry is doing it or Family Search. But if they don't keep it up, they're not going to keep their membership. So that's another place to look. Taxpayer dollars go to counties to digitize their records. And I'm trying to remember, it may have been Buncombe County again, but oh my goodness, they've got amazing land records going back since the beginning of time, just right there on their county website. So there's other places, don't drink the Kool-Aid and think that we have to stay within just the genealogy websites. Thank you, Barbara. I saw that nod.
Greenville, in case you're doing any stuff in Greenville County has some court minutes, it's got deeds, it's got a number of things. It's a little clunky, but if you're and some of those, I think their deeds are not on Family Search. South Carolina Genealogy Society has just they now have some thumb drives of their publications that are minimal in cost. Spartanburg County Library has invested in 2 humongous scanners. They are scanning the deeds of Spartanburg County, even though some of them are in Family Search, and another defunct society scanned all of their journals that was from the Piedmont area. They're not, and so you're right, Susan, checking the local library system. Oh, Florence County's library and their director of their historical area just loves to do extra research because she's not getting a lot of clientele. And she's a bulldog, and they have so many sources. So Susan's absolutely right on.
Oh, and Barbara, when you're talking about periodicals, the family, what is it? Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Percy.
The Fort Wayne, Indiana Public Library, for goodness gracious, Barbara, I don't know how long, but for decades, been soliciting, if you will, genealogical societies to send them a copy of their bulletins. So it's like their quarterly magazines, and they're full of information. And they have the largest library of genealogical magazines in the United States, anyway. I actually made a visit there, and that was totally amazing.
It's great.
Have you been there, Elizabeth?
I used to live in Ohio, and I went there one time. I wish I'd have gone more often. And it was when I first started doing genealogy. I went with a friend, and I didn't know what I could have gotten at that point in time. I
And
got
what
a
they-
lot. I got a lot,
No.
but I wasn't efficient at all.
Well, and what they do with Percy now is that they've got an index of sorts you could search, and then you can send them. It's real cheap. But I know it used to be $10. I think it still is, or it's like 15 maybe, and you can get like 10 articles. Now that article could be several pages, but you fill out this sheet. Now it's hit and miss because they don't have a lot of information about what the article is, like maybe a title of it and then the people's names. But it's funny because it's back to snail mail. You have to wait for them to send it to you. But it's still another another way to not depend solely on the genealogy websites. You know, the big subscription websites is what I'm saying. So the one thing that this email got to me, and I would like your input on this, she's more or less making it sound like she's getting a lot of junk mail from Ancestry. Are you guys doing that? I'm
I
not.
used to, but I'm probably unsubscribed, so I wouldn't get any more.
I was surprised
Um,
about that. And I don't know if there's a switch she can flip within her subscription profile.
Well, when you get your emails, just go to the very bottom and it'll be written real tiny, unsubscribe. And
That's
then I
good.
just go, I mean, I'm in there all the time, working on my tree or whatever. And so I'll periodically check their specials. And because that's what I'm waiting on right now to rejoin, but I'm waiting on those half price specials. I just missed one, but I was hanging on until I finished my GEP courses because I didn't want to have it and then have half the time go by. So
Yeah, I just
just
saw that the
completed
price is,
those, so I'll get back into it. But
I guess the price for full-blown Ancestry is going up to $600.
Oh my gosh. Well,
What?
sometimes you can negotiate with them if you're a good negotiator. I had told a friend of mine to try that tactic, and oh my gosh, she did fabulously. So
by
I've
just calling
tried
in
and
and
failed.
talking to them,
yep, yeah, sometimes you have to wait forever to get through, but it's I mean, what harm is it going to do?
right?
And also, if you're not aware, Family Search, uh, two original, I believe they were the CEOs of Family Search, founded Ancestry. Ancestry's been bought a few times. Originally, the deal was to allow the LDS members to have free membership, and Family Search would provide Ancestry.com a lot, just filter their films to them. And there was a period of time where that wasn't happening, and so Family Search stopped sending things. They've been able to negotiate and work that out, and that's why that contributes to now Ancestry receiving an awful lot of the films from Family Search. I don't know whether y'all know
I'd
know
forgotten
the
about
background. Um,
I'd forgotten about that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. When they first started, there was that love fest going on, and then they split the sheets sort of thing. So
so the reason Ancestry is getting a lot more items is because it's coming, and Family Tree, the LDS is just releasing as soon as they, especially on their films, they have got to get the contracts, because the copyright contracts is not on the material itself necessarily, it is on the process of providing it. And because it's digitized, the contracts are on films. It sounds kind of
it
strange,
does.
but they have contract lawyers that are going through all, and that's why some of the items are in the affiliate libraries. And
Well,
are,
the other thing I want to bring up, though, when you do find something on Ancestry, um, don't forget to look at the source information, find out where did this information come from. If it is a compilation and it says in that source information, this is a compilation of a variety of resources, including, submitted family trees, the DAR is not going to accept that. Yeah. But also look at that too, because lately, Barbara, I've been seeing a lot of times where they have the Family History Library film number
Yeah.
right there and you should go look for that. Instead of submitting the Ancestry.com page that says that there is a Family History Library film number, go look at that. Go,
Absolutely. Sometimes on those indexes, it'll be down at the end of the abstraction
right.
or extraction, the extraction, and the number will be there. Just copy it and put it into the Family Search and pull up that actual. Sometimes the extractions don't have everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're
I know that.
extractions. So go look at that original film.
Yeah. Okay, the other last question that she's got, and this is going to open up that can of worms, but I think it's really important that we talk about it. Quote, As far as reviewers for the applicants for our chapter, I could probably spot the basic mistakes, but I wouldn't know how to find the documents needed to correct them. Surely, there are other chapters for whom the new 2 reviewer requirement has created similar problems. What do we do? How would we answer that?
Well, can't, I think one of the reviewers can be the registrar herself that did the paper originally.
Yes, Barbara, but the one thing that I've been reading in the the Daughters Online community,
Right,
how fair of a review is that person going to give? That person should be reviewing her work anyway.
exactly. So I couldn't believe that they would allow the registrar
I
to be a
think they're,
reviewer on there too, which I don't plan that for my chapter. We're going to go with 2 others looking at my work on the application.
okay, so what do you do if you don't have 2 others in your chapter?
What
What do you
I'm
do?
doing, and I don't claim to be an expert by any means, I've only been doing this for a few months, but I have 2 people on we made right before I became register a volunteer genealogy committee, and I have 2 members that are really anxious to become skilled. And we just reviewed a document, and basically I used it to teach them. I said, okay, here's what I've got. This is where I got it. This is why I picked it over something else. And then they looked at it, and basically it was, yes, I see it in the citation. Okay, next document. And I just used it as to teach them why I picked what I picked. I don't know if it's a real review or not, but they definitely looked at it.
No, I think that's great. And that's why I am excited about this 2 reviewer requirement, is that it will force our membership to get more involved, to look at these applications. And I think once you start looking at applications, you kind of get interested. And we won't get interested if we never look at applications.
And we always had the biggest problem in our chapter is who wants to be the registrar. Nobody wants to do it. If they learn as their reviewers, then they can pick it up easier if something happens to me and I can't be registered.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's all training.
Well, that's how I got it. Our registrar had a stroke, and
Yeah.
I was the only person in the chapter who had genealogy as a hobby.
There you go.
You
And
know,
we are glad.
Then you just move to learning the DAR way. As
Right.
Sarah Sukal, the director of the Department of the Genealogist, will tell you. She even calls it the DAR way.
well, I'd already taken, I know I'd taken at least 2 GEPs. Maybe I'd taken 3. I'm not sure. I think 2, but I definitely did not know the DAR way.
None of us who were genealogists first through the proof standards knew the DAR way.
Well, and I couldn't even talk to the old the old registrar, because she's not able to communicate it well enough to even give me any help. So it was sink or swim.
Self-taught.
If I may, so I just finished training 2 people, and we've done our first few reviews. And a couple of the questions were kind of like, well, I can look at the guidelines and look at the citations, but if I look at the document, how do I know that this is right without spending an awful lot of time going back? And so one of the things that I'm trying to do, I've always practiced this, but I'm really making a concerted effort, and I think they have suggested this, to put the citation somewhere on the document that doesn't obscure the actual information. And I try to make sure that my documentation is according to the DAR standards, so that my reviewer can look at that and make any questions, or if they catch, say, I've left out something, they have it there, and they can use that to review on the citation page. The other thing that I did find this answer, Susan, I don't know that I told you or not. My 2 reviewers do supplementals. One, I just trained them. One got sick. One was submitting her 2 supplementals. And if you read the guidelines, it never it says any member. And so we did contact our state registrar, contacted Cindy Parnell, our registrar general, directly to ask, can a reviewer review her own supplemental if you don't have reviewers trained yet? And the answer is no.
What? That's not what I heard on the doc when I asked
I
specifically.
know.
So
And
they're
this is
giving,
after
you're
your
talking about
comment.
us giving mixed messages. It's coming
That's
out
what
here.
I know. That's why I kind of said what I did at the very
Right.
beginning. Okay, so and I've been waiting to see her post this somewhere.
Oh, no.
But our state registrar had sent out a question a while back, because Susan and I had discussed this, and several others of us have discussed it, because I just did not want to get a first contact. And I also did not want to burden any of our other state leaders. I did actually ended up, my vice chair graciously agreed to review the two supplementals. But Cindy Parnell said in no uncertain time, she was very complimentary. She said, probably those reviewers, since they're doing supplementals, you've trained them to be reviewers, they're probably will have very well prepared supplemental applications. But no, do not have the person who's doing the supplemental be a reviewer for her own work, which goes back to what somebody else said about the registrar.
Yeah, Barbara
Yeah.
Lewis. Yeah.
I think, I don't know if this is correct or not. Originally, when this was going into being formulated, because I asked some questions privately when I was up in DC, can the registrar review? Because at the time, they wanted 2 additional, pairs of eyes. And I don't know, but I imagine there was some concern about all of a sudden doing this and not having the opportunity to train people quickly enough and finding other people to review, that they made the decision that a registrar can review. But as a registrar, you're already reviewing to
Right.
begin with. Hopefully, you're preparing that application to the very best of your ability on your understanding of the guidelines. Are we perfect? No. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that aspect.
And Barbara, thank you so much for that, because that kind of does go against what we were saying as far as a registrar being able to review her own work. However, I think, my opinion, a registrar should review her own work, but then it should go on to 2 others.
Well, and if you can get that, but right now I think we're scrambling to train people
Mhm.
and to make people feel comfortable, because Susan, I don't know about you, but I'm on edge more. I've
I know you
always
are, honey.
gone over it and over it and over it, and I'm on edge more of making sure that I've dotted every I and crossed every T.
And I got to say this, since you've been open about that, Barbara, is that you are not the only one.
I know.
I've got a researcher in my chapter. Oh my goodness, she's one of those, what do you call them, bulldogs? She gets a hold of a bone and she does not let go. But now she is getting tight. She is getting worried. She is getting, mentally clustered, because she's so afraid she's going to forget to dot an I, cross a T. And we can't let this do that to us. We got to realize we're better together. And so when we get a couple of other people to help us out in reviewing an application, we can relax a little bit.
It's just going to take some time, because, it used to be citations never bothered me. I had them all memorized. And it's just a matter of we're going through a learning curve. And like Susan said, you work with each other. And it was actually, my case was great, because I pursued going to my vice chair, who had not had the opportunity yet to do a review. And so she had the experience of going through that checklist and reviewing for the first time. And
Okay, that checklist bothers me.
yeah, oh, yes. Yes.
And Cindy Swartz, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm talking to you, girlfriend. She did a review for me and she wrote everything out longhand. And her review back to me, she put her heart and soul into it. Now I need to still go back and review her review, because it's too much. You know what I mean? It's like, not that it's too much, it's just I want I want somebody to look at my application and tell me, is every I dotted, is every T crossed? Where Cindy did a really good job of writing down, I don't know if the check is in the envelope.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's like, so,
may I
ah,
make a suggestion?
mhm.
Or at least share something
Mhm.
that I'm doing, and 3 people so far have liked it. You may not. But when I was faced with teaching my first 2 people, I thought, ooh, I'm going to take the easiest thing on here. I went to the page 4 first, and I worked backwards. I went from page
Interesting.
4 to page, it's at the bottom of the checklist, then right up above
Okay,
it.
so you're talking about on the checklist, not on
Checklist.
the application.
Not
I was thinking
okay.
you were saying the application, and I was like, how do you do?
No, on the checklist, since we're talking
Okay,
about reviewing, I'm sorry, I didn't make it clear.
that's okay.
So I went to page 4 first to teach my reviewers because that was easy. They were already, one of them in particular was very nervous. So that broke the ice and helped. Then I went to page 3 because I
Okay,
had the,
did you have an actual session where you sat down with the
yes,
checklist? Good for
yes.
you. Good for
Well, I was
you.
going to have, I had, because they said, you're going to have to sit down with, I said, absolutely, I will. So yes, I had an individual session with both of them. And then I did with my vice chair, Colleen
Good.
Knights. Okay. So we started with the page 4 on the checklist. Then we moved to the citation page, and I had the documents. This was a nice application because it had about 10 documents, so it wasn't overwhelming, maybe 8 documents. It wasn't overwhelming for a first time training
Right.
session, and they could see the documents. And that's when they checked the citations. Okay. By doing 3 first, you end up answering 2.
Now, did you already have the citations on the supporting documents like
I
you've just?
did. I
Okay.
did. And then we went to page 2, and some of the questions were already answered. Page 2, you get in the weeds on that on
Right.
the checklist.
I see.
That was just, and so I did the same thing with Colleen Knights, and I said, I don't know or not, but I'm just going to go through this like I did with my other 2. You can decide how you're going to do it with your chapter. And she actually really liked doing it that way.
Interesting.
And then we went to the nitty gritty up at the top with the check and I also went through the boxes and determined what was not applicable to begin with and just marked those boxes with NA
Oh, good for you.
and handed those to my reviewers and just said, okay, this is not a new Patriot, so you don't need to worry about it.
Well, not only that, I'm telling him, just don't mark it. If you didn't see me put the check in the envelope, don't mark it.
Yeah, well, each
Yeah.
person's gonna,
And these are not to be submitted to national. They're for our own files.
Where is that checklist that I can print it?
I can send it to you.
Are
Thank
y'all
you.
talking about the one that just was emailed out that was called record checklist?
No.
no, that was for
No.
me. That was for me.
Okay, here.
Oh,
Since
okay.
we haven't shared the screen yet, let's do that. What do you think? Let's see if we can go find it, Barbara.
Which one?
The reviewer checklist. So it's
I
out on
like
the,
that one.
huh?
I like that photo.
Oh, it's a canned photo. Okay, so we would go out on the members' website. Okay, here's another thing that's going on. I've had several, we're talking more than 3 members come to me and say, I cannot access Build an App. And what it's turning out is that they think they're logging into the members' website because there's a glitch in the new website and they're not logging in. So what you have to do, you guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you log into the members website, make sure that you look up here and it says members. And that's the one thing that was going on is that they were going into they were logging in a way that they had always logged in before, but when they logged in and they went through the process of putting in their chapter name and the state and their national number, the word members was not in the URL up here. And so they could still navigate to the GRS, the Genealogical Research System, because that is open to the public. But build an app is not open to the public. And it took it took the first one a while to figure out because I was like, how could she not be getting there? And that's what we found out. And so it's turned out to be the same problem with several other people. So make sure if you do not get to build an app or you can't find it, that you've logged in a way that members is up here on the URL. Okay, so we're going to go to genealogy. And I would say resources, don't you think, Barbara?
Oh,
For
I
the
go
checklist?
through, did you do forms? I do forms.
Here we
But,
go.
you know, there's, okay, good for you.
There's forms and checklists. And then there's all kinds of forms here. My trusty, where is it? There's that one form I love, you know, the worksheet. Honestly, I can't do, I don't want to do an application without it anymore. I know it's up here someplace too. But what we're looking for is the reviews. So there's prospective member forms, application member or preparation for registrars.
You know, Susan, when I was having a hard time finding it and I just put in the keywords search, application review.
Now, where'd you put that up here in this?
I can do yeah, click that.
Hit Control F.
Yeah, that's what I do is control F.
Application review?
Mhm.
Well, there's not a lot on this page that if we hit Control F,
Oh, no, I do that on the, okay, there,
isn't this it?
That
Yep.
second
see this
one.
second one, see where it says reviewer checklist and confidentially? But there is a way to
There it
find,
is.
there is a way to find it on the site. But when I get frustrated and I can't find it on the site, then I use that control F
Now,
function.
see, Barbara, that's what oh, here we go.
Always find
You're
it,
saying,
yeah.
when you were saying page 4, I was trying to think, I was like, wow, I thought it was only 2 pages, but you're
Yeah.
talking about
Down
this
I
section.
started there with my review
Got it.
because the page 4 is simple. It was a great place to start. And then they both responded, that's how I'm going to do it when you give me. And Colleen liked doing it that way too. And then I went to 3. And some of the things that I knew and showed her later, some of the things that you do in 3, you actually are answering in 2.
Barbara Lewis, I have this form on my computer. Would you like me to email it to you?
Sure.
Okay.
I believe I can find it on DAR and National. I have a time finding anything on National that I'm looking for.
I like the new website. I mean, it took a little bit of getting used to, but it's cleaner. I mean, the old one was kind of cumbersome, I thought, where
It
this
was.
this
Yeah.
one's,
And now I'm playing with the new one and I'm still having problems.
yeah, application prep, it's not on there. 1009. I don't see this checklist on this page anywhere,
Mhm.
but that's fine.
Didn't see it. Mm-mm.
It's
Application checklist right there?
Is it 1006?
no,
No?
No.
1009.
right. This
Oh,
is another
that's
application.
that's that old one that we used to
Right.
use.
No,
And this isn't a bad one to use, but it's
I
not the
think
one that they want us to sign off on.
that's what I had.
The keyword is review when you're looking for it. The keyword is review or
Reviewer?
reviewer. That's how I've done it through the process of search.
Okay.
But you can get to it. I just cannot remember because there's so many different ways to get to maybe resources. Susan, do you think maybe under resources?
Well, I thought that that's where we were. Let's
Oh,
see.
you went to genealogy. And then
Oh,
I do
you know
forms.
what? There's forms, aren't there? There's another place.
I do forms.
Yeah,
There we
I went
go.
through genealogy and the forms through there. But I mean, it's a glitch. It should be under the forms in both places.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where did you find it, like here, Alicia?
I went, let's see,
No,
chapter and state resources.
Okay.
And then I went through application supplementals there. And then I did the
Yes.
control F there to find it. But yeah, there it is. It's the RDG 1009.
This page
Yep,
is a fabulous
That's a good way to
page.
go.
Oh,
This
it
page
is?
this page is a fabulous page to be able to get to. And that's what I was trying to say. I knew I had gone to something on the website,
How
but I
did
did not remember.
It's
What
so
is the-
hard, yeah.
The other thing about this that's really good, Barbara, Jers, is that when you go to this, just this general chapter in state resources, applications, and supplementals, these are stacked chronologically. And so Barbara was just explaining to us that they've updated genealogical guidelines part. And so you
Oh,
can
that's
see that.
good.
If you ever have a question, have they just updated it? You can see by
Oh.
just going to this page.
Okay, that's great. Really,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, see the February 2025? But if you go inside that and you do a keyword for February 2025, nothing comes up. It's all January still. So I can't explain that to you.
No, when you kept saying February 2025, I'm like, no, she means January. So
Well, I know because Colleen said, no, I think it's January. I said, okay, my eyes were bad, but I knew I had seen 2020 February.
there it is, January 2025. I mean,
But you saw the thing on the
yes,
thing that said February 2025, and I thought, I'm going crazy.
I think that they updated it in January and posted it in February.
Could be. But it says February 2025.
So funny. Were you gonna say something, Lorene?
No, it's not funny. It's very funny. But that page is so helpful. I'm glad to know about it.
Well, and it's the one that they want us to have. And again, we do not submit it, but for everything that we submit, we should have 2 of those pieces of paper in a file folder. Now, as you guys know, I do most of my stuff electronically. So I would still ask that my reviewers go through this and check it off and then email it back to me. And that way I could just hold it in my electronic file. Once it is verified. Now, as we know, it takes 2 to 3 years for a supplemental to be verified. Please do not freak out. It has been that way for at least 12 years.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh,
Everybody's
I
like,
thought this was just because of COVID.
no, it's
No, just the number of supplementals increased.
right. And everybody gets all wigged out over it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it's just going to take a while. It's just gonna.
I just had a member who is over 90 and it was logged in August, and I hadn't even looked at our supplemental page in ages because none of them
Wow.
were anywhere near old enough. And for some reason I went there and it was approved last month.
That's great to hear, Elizabeth.
Right.
And she told me, I
Wonderful.
told her it would be over 2 years, and she told me she wouldn't do anymore. I mean, she's 93. And she says there's no point in doing it anymore. And when I told her it had been, when I emailed her, I said people of a certain age
That's
went to the
right.
head of the line.
Yes.
She said, "Oh, I might do it another one."
I remember asking, it's like, okay, I've got a prospective member that's 80 years old and I got laughed at. They're not old.
Oh,
But am I correct that so for over supplementals, if you're over 90, they bump
There
you
you
up
go.
a certain amount?
That's
I
right.
thought it was only for prospective members.
Yeah, I would think the same way. So it's good to know that it works for supplementals also.
Yeah, sure. It was logged in August, and sometime I don't remember, but sometime last month it was approved. So
It is pretty quick.
yeah, I was impressed.
Okay, Elizabeth,
Yes.
to jump into another topic real quick. I think it was you that asked many months ago how to find female ancestors.
No, I didn't, but I
Okay,
found one, but I don't think I can prove her for somebody.
now was it you, Lorene?
no.
Okay, well,
Let's talk about it.
Interested in it.
it's been on my mind a lot because it was a month or so, well, I think 2 months ago that I asked, okay, what do you guys want to talk about for our next meeting? And somebody spoke up and they said locating, like the maiden name of a female ancestor. So I have been, Devorah, we were talking about the genealogy gems podcasts and stuff like that. I have been drilling down looking for what's the best way. I mean, I could talk about it, but what's the best way to share what to do when you want to break through that female line? Then in my trusty little family tree subscription magazine, one of the articles was Find Female Ancestors.
What month is that?
This one just came yesterday. So March, April.
April. April?
And honestly, this is not
Did you say April?
March, April.
Oh, March, April.
This is not a deep read, but it was fun over coffee. I mean, it's got lots lots of nice little pictures and advertisements and colors, and um, I was thrilled to have it.
Is
And
this
then
something that you recommend that you subscribe to?
I do subscribe to it. I am not selling the idea. If it's of interest to you, go for it. I think the $25 a year or whatever, make sure you've got a subscription to the DAR magazine first, is
Yeah.
my personal solicitation. Now, if it's of interest to you, I think it's fun. The one thing that they do is they do compare, they are not sold out to any particular subscription website. So they will be as fair as they can be on comparing, like this one,
Mm-hmm.
compared the top 3 dogs when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to subscription websites. Well, Family Search isn't subscription, and they make sure to explain that to you. So that's always fun. The other thing that they've been doing for years, and it's kind of nice. Do you subscribe to this, Barbara Jers?
I did early on and I liked it. Our library gets it. And I
Ah,
think that they're the ones that push big discounts, like down to $19, especially if you're a legacy member with all the videos. But I think if you even go to the website, because they're always trying to get you to sign up. But I liked the magazine. I just don't take very many magazines anymore,
I
but
hear you.
it
You know
does.
what? It was kind of nice to read paper instead of screen.
Yeah, but it does have some great articles and great.
They've got 2 of these in here, and I think they keep updating these. And these are, they've got the state of Washington and Louisiana research guides in this particular issue.
When I go to the library, a lot of times it's on our desk in our genealogy and historical
Aw.
society. So I'll just, if I'm waiting on somebody, I'll just pick it up really quickly and glance through it. So I think if you do it for a 1 year subscription and see whether you like it or not, try to get it on
Mm-hmm.
discount. Again, try that negotiation. Tell them you're a first time person and it's been suggested to you. And I'm serious. If
Oh,
you,
I know. Well, when you said 600 for Ancestry, I'm like, I don't know if
Right?
I'm going to pay that.
That's crazy.
well, you know what? I re-upped
And I'm
mine.
addicted.
I re-upped mine and I just said, I am a DAR member and I use this every single day. And this is a nonprofit.
That worked.
Yes, I got 50% off.
Oh,
Wow.
Can
wow.
I? So I know.
Saying, I mean,
Really?
what's the harm? The worst thing they can tell you is no.
Now, last
Mhm.
August, I called and I asked them if they had any discounts they could offer me, and they said, nope, we don't do that.
Yeah, it depends on
But,
who you get, and you just keep on, you just keep on, you
and
just,
I've done that before, Barbara.
Perseverance.
They,
I have called before. What's that, Lorraine?
they have discounts 2 times a year. In July, around July 4th. You can look for advertisements starting before July 4th. And then around between Christmas and New Year's. So what I do, because somebody in our chapter told me about it, Susan Dobbs did, that I let I rejoin for 6 months, every 6 months.
I
yes.
see.
One time I did have to actually utilize, well, I'm sorry, I can no longer be a part, let the subscription go, and then just rejoined.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And then another time, one of the agents just actually said, the only way I can do this is have you stop your subscription.
I've
I said,
had that.
I don't want to do that. I want to keep it on the year that I first started. I
Yes.
said, well, I can't do that. So I just decided, okay, what do I want? Do I want the discount or do I want it to reflect that, I joined way, way, way back? I don't care. I want the discount.
Well, I had like 3 days I wasn't a member, and you can go to the library for 3 days. It's not,
Right.
Or make cookies.
oh, forget it.
Okay, so going back to female ancestors. Now, I know most of us in the DA are looking to connect to patriots. We're typically looking at pre-1850 where we have the most challenges. We're going to have that for everybody. It's just a different type of research because now you're looking at land records, you're looking at probate records, you're looking at court records. A lot of what I continue to hear is the same old that's more for the current records. For instance, so you see a family in a census record. And it's got all of the children listed. And I'm just for grins and giggles here, the way that I've been hearing it saying that this is the 1910 census. And you're trying to figure out the maiden name of mommy in the household. Go get the death records of all of the children.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
That
a
makes
good,
sense.
that's a really good idea.
Yeah. So, you know, the majority of pretty much death certificates were available across the board about 1917. Every state's got a different date, and when they came into compliance, you know, the Northeast was a lot earlier. The Southwest, well, they did what they wanted to when they got there. But, you know, like even Oklahoma wasn't considered a state, it was Indian Territory until 1907. So it was still the part of the,
Hmm.
you know, free reign. So that's one way. Obituaries. So let's say that, you know, you're trying to figure out mom's maiden name, and you can do a search for her married name in newspapers, and you could very well come across a brother or even her obituary who lists brothers, or a brother's obituary that lists her with her married name. Now you've got a clue as to, you know, her first name is Elizabeth, and it might be that she's Elizabeth Smith, and she can be found in an obituary of Ebenezer Crowley. Okay, so there's a clue. Her maiden name could very well be Crowley. Gives you a clue to go and search more things. Now maybe you can go find her in an earlier census record with that last name of Crowley before she was married to Mr. Smith. Once you have an idea, you know, some of the stuff that they say pretty much continues to go around and around this. And the theme that I kept hearing was do full family research. And I don't care if you're working on your own genealogy or if you're helping somebody with a supplemental application or a new application. A lot of times if the lineage is not falling down and waving his little hands at you like, yeah, we're all in a line, you just need to spread that thought out a little bit more and find more members of the family and do full family research. What is full family research? Anybody got a clue?
Yeah.
Oh,
Checking everybody in the family, the aunts, the uncles, the brothers, the sisters, even the in-laws.
absolutely. And it's easier to start close and branch out. So look at the children. You know, a lot of times you're going to get clues again in death certificates about the parents from the children. Look
And
in census
probates. And
and
probates.
probates, absolutely. Or even census records a lot of times, Barbara. We go ahead and we look at those, and we might see a woman in a census family by a totally different last name. Then we start realizing, oh, wait a minute, she's quite a bit older than the head of the household. What's going on here? And then we could realize, even if they don't put the relationship down on there, that's a clue that that could be a mother-in-law.
I think that's why y'all are going to love, if you haven't done the full family search text, the full text, full text,
I know I'm
family
twisting on
search full text, because with the filters, you can put, say you get the male and then you see his wife Mary, you can play with that name Mary with her as a separate search, and then you might end up finding her in a probate of her father.
Right.
So when you get into this the family search full text, and depending, they're downloading all the time, but I've been working with some records in the 1700s and early 1800s. So that's another way that you'll be able to filter and play with finding females.
One of the things that I kept reading, and this goes right with what you're talking about, Barbara, is try to find the marriage certificate. And I laugh like, duh, you know, but then when I realized like what Barbara's saying, they are putting a lot of, I noticed just this morning, a lot of marriage certificates out there or records. Don't get, you know, lost in the type of document. Remember, we're looking for information, not documents. Of course, we want the documents to have the information that we need, but if you can't find a death certificate, that doesn't mean the person did not die. I don't know how many, Barbara, you've read these on the doc. It's like, I am befuddled. I cannot find a death certificate for this person in 1858. And you're like, no, shoot. Of course you can't. They
Not
didn't
unless
have
you're
them.
up in New England. But they're death registers. They're not
Right.
certificates, you know?
Well, that's the thing. If you're stymied on death certificate and you can find the same information in a death register where it's a ledger page that's got it across, great. And I'm saying the same thing for marriages. You know, I know my family being a Western migration people. We started in South Carolina and I came back like 10 generations later, but we've been crossing the country. I
Mhm.
would be in the Ozarks. My family was in the Ozarks when they got married. And so a lot of times you had these little scraps of paper that fell out of the minister's journal, the traveling minister, when he would finally get back to the county courthouse, maybe a year later to record their marriage.
The minister returns. Yeah.
Mm. So, that doesn't mean that it doesn't count as a marriage record because it's not pretty and framed, and that's a record. And the information is what I want. I care, of course, but I don't stop because I can't find a certificate. So, oh, that's another thing, Barbara, that I'm concerned we're losing. The other suggestion is to research cemeteries. Okay, do not think that Find a Grave is a cemetery. They've got it indexed. Barbara's listening. They've got it indexed alphabetically. That is not the way that people were buried. Right?
Of course they were, because the diggers had to do it, be able to find the hole, had to do it alphabetically.
Yeah. So go to the cemetery, see who is around them, because Find a Grave's not going to give you that information. If you can't go to the cemetery, a lot of people in the 1980s to the 2000 timeframe, especially the 1980s for whatever reason, were walking cemeteries and transcribing them in the order that they walked them. I've got a couple of collections like that, and the DAR does accept them, as long as they're not annotated. If it's just a walk through the cemetery, it's great. If they say, and she was the daughter of thus and this and that, that's extracurricular. That's not acceptable. But what they saw in the cemetery and who they were buried next to could very much be a clue to a woman's maiden name.
The WPA did a lot of cemeteries too. And if the problem is I haven't found any of them online, but
Oh.
I've gone to libraries and seen, major numbers of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Where do
They're
I
on
find them
there.
online?
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can find them on the DAR website because I think that they used to be there and I have not looked for a while. So
Okay.
And
you guys just
also,
go ahead and talk. I'll be here.
also a little tip, if you don't know this. So if you're say you find a cemetery, I think the survey is what they're called, in a
Yes.
DAR application. I know DAR is not going to be happy about my telling this, but that's why I was talking about this recording stuff. Okay, a lot of those, they came from chapters who were transcribing and making books, and those books would go to the DAR library, and they would allow you one or two you could keep one for your chapter and maybe one in your local library. Because of the LDS church going around to all kinds of repositories, some of those were filmed.
Right. And
You will
do
find
that.
them. You will find them in Family Search.
Right.
I found one of my ancestors who was on, and so instead of paying $10 to download it from the DAR,
Right.
I found it in Family Search, the exact same page. So
Well,
if
there's the
you have
thing
an applicant that doesn't want to spend $10 to find, or you can go other ways to find them.
Of what now? Of what are they finding there?
Okay, so let's say a chapter went to a cemetery where your person is that you're looking for, and they made a book and they gave it to the DAR library that's in the GRC, okay?
Okay.
And it's in an application. You see that, or it could be a Bible record too. You see it in an application. In order to get that document, you have to pay $10.
Right.
Okay, before you pay the $10, go to Family Search, because a lot of those books or those pages were filmed.
And a lot of the GRC, the genealogical records, what do they call it?
Yes.
Um, I know the Trenton chapter just submitted 4 volumes last year. I'm so proud. I think that is a great thing that Clay Clyde actually did. Um, they're out there, and you're right, Elizabeth. There's a lot of I love the WPA. So here I was just clicking around. I could not find the GRC. Barbara Jers.
I'm sorry, I went to go get more coffee. I'm back. Okay.
So where I found it is up.
You go to wherever
Research.
you see ancestors, ancestors, descendants, and
Member.
members.
I found it up here at research
Okay, or
on this research up
okay.
here.
I usually use the one where it's across the board, because all you do is click on it.
See, there's all kinds of ways to get the
I
thing.
know.
But anyway, it's down. This is, of course, the GRS, the Ancestor Member and Descendants Database. And then here's the GRC database.
So the GRC is a subset of the GRS. A lot of people get that mixed up.
And anything in those, are they acceptable as sources?
Not anything, not anything.
If it's but so being in there doesn't make it an acceptable
Right.
source. Okay.
Nothing is guaranteed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, so let's look for. I don't know for sure if they'll. I don't know that this will work.
Oops. Uh-oh.
Oh, what? Oh, that will not work.
Yeah, they totally put the button in the wrong place. I agree with you there.
Okay, so right here we've got this Bible records. This tells you what we've got. This is South Carolina submitted this.
Right.
You can see, I don't think you can see all of the names that are on this page, and that could kind of give you an idea if these names are familiar to what you're looking for.
You as a registrar will be able to actually click on the pages,
Right.
but a member only sees the names and has to say to you, I think this might be my family. Can you check it?
And I thank you for bringing that up. I'm logging in now to e-membership so that I can go into image access. So I've logged into e-membership and I'm going to research the GRS directly from here. This gives me a whole different access level. And this is what Barbara's talking about. So right here's the GRC where we were at.
That's how I go in.
Okay, good. Now also there's book search and browse books, which I don't believe we had before. But let's just see on this again. I have not used this in a while. It's really a very fabulous.
It's an underused tool that we have. I mean, it's amazing. I forgot how many hundreds of thousands of documents are in this.
Now,
started in the 1920s.
If you are a registrar with image access, Barbara Lewis, this is image access. Okay, so this is giving you, and this is why you were told you're missing out on the money, honey, if you're not using your image access. So now, will this be acceptable? No, not by itself. We've got to look at it. Now, these are Bible records. And if you go and you look at the genealogical guidelines, it says it wants provenance. So you have to look. Here it does tell you this is John Lander, 1757 to 1840. His Bible owned by Leonard Felton Smith. Doesn't really say,
when he owned it.
Right. But then if you go back to, let's say, the first page, maybe even more, might have to look at it to see where did these come from. Oh, look at that. And Pamela Cunningham chapter. I love that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this is just their old school computer indexing that they had to do. Okay. This just tells you who they were that were putting this together. Hopefully it will say some narrative in here. There we go. In preparing and presenting the second volume of the South Carolina Bible Records, I desire to thank the individual members for the expense money for, and hopefully, oh, wow. I desire to thank Leonardo, Andrea. This person did a lot of research. I've never found anything of value, but there are volumes and volumes
Yeah.
they've done. So that's kind of cool to see that. So you can see here, did they just get us all from Leonardo Andrea, or did they have people come in and bring their Bibles? That would give you a little bit of information on the provenance too. So without going into a deep study on just that, oh, here we go, explanation of Bible entries. What did they have to go through? One thing I wanted to bring up though, I know that there was, see all this is, here we go, WPA books, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yep, yep. I was thinking there were.
And so here are what the DAR has available to us right here on this website. Let's go down to South Carolina. Historic Records Survey is about the only thing that's looks like it's state specific on this.
It's Southern California.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? It sure is. Sorry. It does say that too.
It's up a couple. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Inscriptions from South Carolina cemeteries. Exactly what we were looking for.
No,
Does it say the name of this chapter? No, because it's the Works Progress Administration. Duh.
It's got Winsburg County in it.
Okay, so this is talking about the Works Progress Administration. Oh, I guess the DAR was involved with that to a certain extent. Look at that. At the request of Mrs. Carson, 2 copies of the inscription taken, although covering only a fraction of the total number of cemeteries, have been arranged in 3 parts under the supervision of Mrs. Irene A. Scott, project supervisor of transcription. They have been bound in 6 volumes. So these are out there. Now, what I want to know is, did they ruin it by alphabetizing it? Oh, look at this, family or private cemeteries. Okay, take this into consideration, guys. This was made, what they say, 1935?
1939.
Okay, so we're looking at what, 80 years ago? So a lot of these records, a lot of these grave markers,
No longer exist.
right?
Or are so faded on the stones. I mean,
That you can't.
I'm so glad, Elizabeth, you brought this up.
Yes.
Because I had forgotten that the WPA was in the GRC.
I didn't know they were. I just
Yeah.
know that when I go to Knoxville a lot to the, what is it? The Eastern Tennessee.
No.
You know which library I'm talking about. I can't think of the name right now. And because I have family, the migration was Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Indiana. And I had family in Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee. And it has been a gold mine of information. And I go there as often as I can. And that's where I've seen them.
Speaking of a repository that has a tremendous library is Appalachian State's special collections for North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and Southwestern Virginia.
Ooh, I didn't know about that one.
Oh my gosh. The problem is that the library is difficult you have to park far away and walk to it. But oh my gosh, does it have a fabulous whole floor.
So here we see, I was wondering, it's like, this is not showing me what I wanted to see, but yes, it is. Very much so. So here we've got, Clara Lightburn and Chesley Lightburn, born. But then we get down here to Arrington Parrott. And then we see that this is Margaret Carmichael, wife of J.E. Parrott. And then we've got John E. Parrott. And then we've got Parrott, Nancy A. Campbell, wife of John E. Parrott. And then we got Willie, son of J.E. and N.A. Parrott. So let's say that we were going through Willie. You know, he died too young for us to, of course, be able to do that. But there is always possibilities of other things that might tie us into it. And right there, we've got quite a bit of family information because they're all buried next to one another and it's all saying that they are. At first, I was like, have they annotated it with extra information? I don't believe so, though. I think that those slashes mean it's the next line.
Yeah, I think you're
Mhm.
correct, Susan. And that county in South Carolina is a very difficult county to
Oh, that's nice
search.
to know. I mean, it's not nice to know, but you know,
I mean,
there's
that's amazing. It may be another area, we may be able to find those cemetery surveys in other places, but that is a very challenging county.
I've used Wilkes County, North Carolina extensively.
Yes, that library is excellent. We
No,
have,
I mean the WPA book for Wilkes
oh,
County.
well, their little library is wonderful too.
It
They have a
is.
little historical library if you're not
And their
familiar.
when you mentioned joining, I joined their genealogical society to get their magazines.
I have to
Or,
go
you know,
through Wilkes County to get to our family
oh,
property.
and look at some of the clues in here. Here's a Woodman of the World Memorial for Daniel B. Stone. So that can give you clues.
Yes, for
Mhm.
society.
I have never searched for a Woodman of the World, but I know that there are people that I've talked to who have found stuff about their family through Woodman of the World. And the other thing that gets me is, okay, so some of these dates we can kind of assume that they might have death certificates. 1919 is iffy, 1934 is more solid.
South Carolina, 1919. Yep.
mm, Here's one born in 1872 and died in 1917, maybe. But I mean, this is only page 12. Let's go look at like page.
what is Woodman of the World? I'm sorry, to ask questions that other people may know the answers to.
No, you don't have anything to be sorry about. Oh my goodness, look at this epitaph that's written here.
It's a fraternal organization, isn't it, Susan, for insurance?
One of those,
people?
Barbara, was an insurance company
Insurance, Woodman of the
Mhm.
World is
Insurance.
insurance, yeah.
Insurance.
And
before there
fraternal,
was insurance. Yeah.
fraternal organizations are also wonderful because many of them kept information, biographies or information, because they took care of spouses if the
Mm.
Woodman of the
Okay.
World member died. The German Society down in Charleston has wonderful records.
The Woodman, you said?
No, I said the
What'd you say?
The German Friendly Society, the German
Oh.
Friend Society in Charleston has some books in the Charleston Library, but a lot of these fraternal organizations do keep records because some of them would help when the husband died. They would help with different things for the spouse.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm sorry. Sacred tombs, death, doleful, silent, awful spot, this infant's fate, man's humble lot, here in peace, 9, dear children rest. They, they sleep in Jesus, God be blessed. In this grave, 3 sweet babes doth lie, who lived just long enough to die.
Oh my gosh.
I think you're in a cemetery here in Williamsburg County near Hemingway, because there was a Beelan church way back before the Revolutionary War. And you see all these Beelan or Balin
Wow,
people. I think that's that cemetery.
that's just so sad, so morbid.
Mhm.
Life history.
Yeah. You know, most of these, this looks like it's an infant grave. The one I just am randomly going through
Right.
this, but anyway, there's a lot of really good stuff out there in this GRC. I know I was just bragging about the Trenton chapter and Clay Clyde, who's submitted 4 volumes. That means each volume's like 100 pages. And what she's done is she's gone to a funeral home, and they opened up their older books to her. And so she was able to take a digital copy, a photograph of one page, and then she went and transcribed it on the next page. And it's interesting what you can get out of funeral books or funeral home books, because they're a service organization or a company. And so you could get a lot of information about their family, about their social, you know, financial status, whether they had a pine box and, they brought their own clothes or they paid $100 to be fully dressed in a suit, sort of thing because of the age of it. So, whether they had a hearse or, even if they were buried in a family plot, a lot of times the family might still ask for the funeral home to come and embalm the deceased and then bring it back to the home for, setting for a couple of days before they actually buried him in the family plot. So what we're looking at here, these cemetery surveys are wonderful and amazing and great, but there's all kinds of stuff out here. And well, I'll stop fixating on this one. We could go back and see what other kind of records are out here. Well, I guess I should have just done this way. Okay, so this is an inscription of cemeteries. There's 16 WPA books for South Carolina. And so far we've got inventory of county archives. I would be a little reluctant to look at this because it is dated. If the WPA did it, it was a while ago. And the inventory of county archives can change, of course, over a period of time. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I wouldn't be as excited as I am about the cemetery surveys. It looks like a lot of these. And, you might get some information from the research aides, but it's going to be just about the collections that they've got, not about the people that they're got collections on. Yeah. So really in this particular set for South Carolina, the sets up the first, what were they, 3 volumes up here of the cemetery surveys are priceless. I mean, they're amazing. But don't forget, we're not all from South Carolina. And so like I was born in Colorado. Let's just take a look up there to see what they've got. Again, we've got record survey. View book external site. That's interesting. What's that going to do? Oh, Barbara, look at that. This was from where the GRC brought us to the family search site for a DAR publication. And there is a digital version of it. WP History of Golden, Jefferson County, Colorado. This is where my mother just moved here from.
I have to run, but bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Good to meet
Alicia.
you.
I need to leave also. This has been wonderful. How do I find the full thing on YouTube? What's the search thing to find you on find this on YouTube?
Just